You are now listening to Carlie's Couch.
I'm Carlie.
And I'm Lex.
In this podcast, we discuss a wide array of topics about life and how to live your best life.
Whatever that looks like for you.
Hope y'all enjoy. In this week's episode of Carlie's Couch, we rethink how we can show up for people in our lives who might not know exactly what they want or need or are going through crisis.
Welcome to Carlie's Couch. Thanks for joining us today.
I have Lextopia on my right,
And
I guess y'all's left.
And Carlie Carpio / CC Fierce on my left. As usual, every week, right here with you.
Happy to have y'all back this week. And before we hop into our very important episode topic, we are going to go into our... Oh, no, we don't have a question from the week this week. Dang, I just knew it was that one.
What are you reading?
I was about to make something up, apparently.
No question of the week this week. We're just going to get right into it. I saw a thread on Twitter from a friend of mine that I went to college with who recently lost his mom. And, you know, he was just kind of, you know, you could tell that some tweets are more of like a vent. And he was kind of venting about, you know, that it's actually difficult and disappointing when people who are very close to you specifically, you know, ask you like, oh, let me know what you need, or, okay, well, I'm here if you need anything. And he expressed that it put a little bit of extra mental strain on him because in that time, it's like, I'm actually dealing with so much stuff. Like, I don't even know how to make good on you making that offer to me. And when I saw that, I was like, man, this makes a lot of sense to me, because from both sides, I've seen when people are going through things, it's like, okay, I could say something to them, or it's like you could skip that and actually take advantage of the fact that you have a relationship and show that you have a relationship to just do something. And I found that I know for me, in my relationships, friendships, etc., it's always the things you're not expecting that always make you feel like the most cared for and thought of. And so it's like you can't go, I mean, you could go wrong, but for the most part, you're not going to go wrong by just doing something for somebody. And that adds such a ray of sunshine to a person instead of it having to do all the back and forth of asking them what they need. So today, I shared that with Carlie, thinking about that as an episode, and she was like, yeah, I had a similar type of thread saved. And then we have our own experiences with this in life. So that's what we'll be tackling today.
Yeah, I think it was more apparent to me the importance of this after my mom passed too. So not a great like club to be in, but if you're in this club, you understand. But I think that people mean well most of the time, right? Whenever they say, you know, hey, let me know if you need anything or I'm here. But I feel like, especially if it's somebody I'm close to, like, I feel like that's lazy and not really trying. Like, I feel like it's an afterthought. I'm not saying I don't appreciate it, but to your point, like when somebody knows me, like they might already know what to do in these cases for me. And so if it's something like that, then I feel like it can be like you're not trying as hard, or like saying something just to say something so you can feel good about it, even though we might mean well. Because I've definitely been that person too. Like after my mom passed, I reached out to two of my line sisters who have lost a parent, and I was like, y'all, I am so damn sorry that I was not more there, because I had no idea. And it sounds crazy, but you might really think that you're like, oh, I'm creating space for them to show up, but then it's just more work for them.
And I think that's fair that in some cases people won't understand certain things until they've gone through something. And even like with that same example of losing a parent, like there's no way you could ever understand that if you haven't gone through it. And so I think there is space to have a grace for folks in your circle who, like you said, I think maybe you could tell when people mean well. But if you do feel disappointed, I feel like that's probably a signifier that you thought you had a closer relationship with that person to where they would know to do something or know how they can do something, right? Like sometimes it's like, oh, you don't even know what food I like enough to give me a little, you know, gift card or something, or it's so off base. But at least in that case, to have done something and still you did something, right? Which is better than just speaking up about it. So I think that's a good thing to remember, that of course everybody hasn't been in certain situations enough to understand how overwhelming maybe things can be. And yet, if we're that cool, there's something, you know. And it's different between saying like, oh, maybe it wasn't enough or you could have did more. But like, it's something that's still above just asking me, like, what do I need? So when you've been asked that question, like, oh, what do you need? Or how can I help you? Or if there's anything, let me know. Outside of what you just said, as far as disappointed for some people, how does that make you feel?
I felt a little overwhelmed because if I'm going through something or going through a rough time, like I don't have the bandwidth to then try to figure out what exactly I need and what might be in your purview of what you could do for me in that moment. And so I'll be like, oh, thank you so much. And I just don't reply because it can be really tough whenever you got a million things going on in your head. And it's like, I understand the sentiment, and I always appreciate if it's more words too, like, oh, I love you so much, I'm praying for you, I know you're going through a hard time, let me know whenever you're good, whatever. But like, if it's just those words, like, it does feel a little lazy and disappointing, and like you just saying something to say something, even though I still appreciate it. But it feels like a lot of work, and that could be even more stressful for whatever situation you're in.
So it's appreciated, but it also feels like, okay, you're just saying something to say something. Like when people say like, how are you? And it's fine. And it feels like we're just going through a quick motion, which I guess I would still say that would still mean more like later on down the road when you're like, dang, some people didn't say nothing, you know?
Oh, yeah.
So I think that's still, oh, okay, you reached out. But to your point, it's like, man, now it feels like I have to think about what to do. And we've talked about this in previous episodes where in certain relationships, you want to build the kind of relationship to where they know how to show up for you. And I guess that's a sign that maybe that we have good relationships. Although I guess it's not our fault per se if somebody else, you know, doesn't do things in a way that we would expect. And yet I'm sure it is still a sign also of how you show up for other people, because it is true. Like there's some people, they might be kind of going through something, and, you know, like when you know, oh, everybody's probably reaching out to them. Yeah. And so you kind of like, we're not that cool, you know? So there's times when also you may feel like, well, that's not going to do nothing, and I'm not really about to do a whole lot. So you just might leave it. But in general, if we are that type of friend to certain people, I think even more so, you would hope that they understand, like, to show up in a similar way.
Yeah, and I think we have to keep that in mind, that sometimes, like, people have never been through whatever they're going through, lost a job, laid off, divorce, parent died, breakup, really tough breakup. Maybe they've been together for a long time, and you just don't really know how to support, but also they might really not know what they need because they've never been in that situation before. And so, like, it's kind of all of us learning how to better support each other, and also like learning what we need, because you don't know what you need until you're there in a situation. And so it's like a lot of grace and understanding, but being willing to try to figure that out with your friends. I think I saw something that was really good. That's going to be my ending point, but I'm already talking about it now. Is like, it's important to have these conversations before crisis happens. And maybe not like, hey, whenever your mom dies, what do you know? Not like that, but like, you know, how do you like people to show up for you? What makes you feel supported whenever you're going through a hard time?
And I would take that a step further too, in that maybe even more so than like having to even ask those direct questions over the course of our friendship. Hopefully there's different things you have done or tried, or you remember when, oh, Carlie lit up when we went on the day trip to, you know what I mean? Like it might be certain things. Oh, Carlie takes pictures of flowers all the time. She might like some flowers, right? So to a degree, it's still like a good friend is paying attention, and you should hopefully be having certain experiences throughout your relationship that still give you some kind of something, right? I'm not opposed to people asking questions, but that feels like when you're first getting to know somebody, like on a first date or something, you might kind of be asking little questions here and there. But I remember being in a relationship before where, like, I was like, you always ask so many questions instead of we could just be experiencing. But I guess with this episode too, we want to challenge you to now also think about how you approach other people who may be in this situation, right? Maybe think about yourself and how you have felt when people have done something for you or when they haven't done anything for you. And just to maybe think a little bit more about the people close to you, and maybe not even when they're grieving or anything. Like in general, we can do a little better. And if you find it hard to do better, because this is my thing, then that means you need to take better care of yourself too. Because I know I'm not social a lot unless I'm in a good place. Like when you're in survival mode or doing this or worried about that,
Yep.
I'm not calling people up. I'm not saying come over or trying to hang out or whatever. And so it's all about like taking care of yourself and helping take care of others when you see that they are not taking care of themselves.
Yeah, and I think you can build up small. So real quick, it doesn't have to be when people are in crisis or when they're going things, but you know they got a big pitch week at work. Maybe you send like, you know, a little Uber Eats gift card or a little, you know, because my friends have done that where coffee, like, hey, I know you got a big presentation today. Coffee on me, dog. Like, you know.
Don't you always be pissed off too when like your friends be doing stuff that like people you try to be in relationships, you're like, man, this is worthless.
Bro, I was about to say, because baby, the way my friends show up, like big shoes to fill.
And it's cool because when they do that, it is like a pass on kind of thing. Because then the next time a different friend, like not even the same person, right? But a different could tell you they do something. You're like, I remember I felt awesome getting like $5, you know, that's Starbucks. And here you go. Not Starbucks,
but.
Yeah, not Starbucks. But, you know, whatever, right? And giving it to somebody. And you know how that felt good and you share that, that's really powerful.
And it's not like something so small as a $5 gift card somewhere or whatever, but literally after my homegirl did that for me, then I started doing that for a lot of people just randomly. They might even have me going through something, but maybe I ain't talk to them because I don't talk to people every day like that. You know, I just, hey, I'm thinking about you. I love you. Have a great week at work. Bow. And things like that. They're huge and it feels so much more impactful. You feel seen, you feel appreciated, you feel loved on, even from afar. Like social media gives us this fake closeness with people. And I feel like, you know, these are tangible ways that you can actually like continue to build closeness.
And so it does feel different. You know, as people who have received, it feels different when something just shows up or somebody says something or does something, especially when it's not somebody you necessarily expected it from. That's always a surprise too, because sometimes it's the people who don't comment on all your stuff like online and stuff like that who are actually there for you in real life. But it feels good. I think it's important to recognize how that feels so that we can also share that with others. So in what ways can we show up for other folks? You know, again, without it being like Turks and Caicos, you know, here's a ticket.
Unless you want to.
Oh, look, although my friend just recently hit me with a trip. So it's like, it might be whatever. But, you know, things that you can do. I think we've already, in talking about our experience, have thrown some random things out there. But were there any other thoughts that you have about that?
I have lots of thoughts. I would say specifically when you're thinking about like people losing people, someone close to them, money is always great. And so if y'all can crowdfund, because that's, you know, community, right? Like my neos and my line sisters really supported me after my mom died. And I didn't even know that they were going to do that or what they needed. But it was just like, oh, man, I was crying.
Can I speak to the money thing? Because I know a lot of people will think like that's so impersonal or, you know, money is but I mean, I think it's fair for people to think that because they might want to be like, okay, what can I actually do instead of it feeling like I'm just, here you go. But I'm asking you now, you know, are you countering that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that
where's the dough?
Yeah, please, because like some of the love that I received was in the form of gift cards, which are great, like Uber Eats, because cooking when you're depressed,
food
when you're
exhausted,
when you're whatever, even if you like somebody cooking for you and bringing it over, or Uber eating something to you, whatever, like meal trains after people have babies, amazing. But also the money piece is so important, even if it's small, because they might not be able to articulate that they need their light bill paid because they couldn't work when this happened. But then you send it like, you know, $200, which maybe feels like a lot, maybe it doesn't, but they're like, shit, I can pay my light bill and I can get like $100 worth of meals this month. And it's super helpful. And it's like it's unbounded on how they use it because you don't know what they need. Yeah,
that's fair. And that's a good point too, in that money and certain things, like when you ask somebody, what do you need? I might not want to be like, well, my phone bill's coming up, because
could be embarrassing, could be whatever.
It might not feel good for people to tell you that they need money or things like that. I've had somebody recently who was telling me too that like, oh, well, the lights went out, and it's like in my head I was like, what am I supposed to say to this? Like, but also it's like, okay, you know, take a nap and then wake up, like do some brainstorming. I can maybe figure out, you know, something, and whatever's going on, I'll let you know. But like, it's not easy. So also I know if somebody is asking you about money, if I'm asking somebody about money, I don't got it. And that's the last thing people want to ask for. I mean, you know, the types of people who are like, whatever, but for most people, that's the last thing they want to ask for. And so I think that's really good point that you bring up, just giving people money, even if they could just cash up you $20 or something. Everything when
helps.
it comes to money, everything helps.
I was about to say the next piece that I would say really helps when someone passes is there's so much administrative shit to do. Like it's overwhelming and exhausting. And we're gonna have an episode where we bring somebody to help do estate planning. But until that happens, the thing I would think is like, is there something you can take off their plate? Can you call and help them arrange the flowers? Are you good at graphic design? Can you make an obituary? Because I definitely made my mom's obituary, and that was really hard for me, but it had to be done. And there wasn't no money, so guess who was gonna do it? Me. And you know how hard it is to make. You don't, but like
I do see a lot of people like their family sit down and like, and then did you have a lot of family to help you?
No. Well, so like I won't call them out because they really were helpful. They did a lot. No, I ain't calling nobody out, but like they did a lot. So I'm not like saying they were bad. There's just certain things I knew I had to do that they couldn't do. Like they don't know how to do graphic design. They don't be on computers. Like you know, like different things that like I knew only I could do. And it was like,
and sometimes it's harder when it's your time like that, as opposed to like, because you can't even just call somebody right now at any point and be like, write this up. Like. Yeah, that's on you.
It got to be something that you do. And so if there's anything you can do, because I know that like my line sisters, when it's come to other things, like when somebody else's mom had passed, they helped arrange flights, paid for the flights, sent the tickets.
That's nice.
You know what I'm saying? Like little things like that. Delta be coming through. People be talking noise, but sisterhood really shines through in a lot of things. But it's like how you can show up. And I feel like specifically when you lose people, those are two big areas that are helpful.
Yeah, and that makes me think of the fact that, like we said earlier, a lot of times, you know, if you're in that situation, you're drained. You don't have the energy to do the things you need to do. And so what you need is the replenishment, right? And so not to feel bad about giving things that's for them, not necessarily the situation, but for them, so that they can feel more apt to do the things that they need to do and whatever their situation might be. And even like when thinking about when you're like tired, like had a real busy day just at work or something, sometimes it's like, dang, like I don't feel crazy. I need more energy to do what I need to do. And that's what can be helped in a lot of cases.
I was about to say one of the biggest things, and this was when nobody passed, I was just having a long day at work and got home and there was dinner outside. And the person was like, hey, I know you had a long day. Like you don't have to cook. Hope you have a good evening. Thank you.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
You know, so like, okay, so those are money things, but I also want to be very clear that ways to support people do not have to involve money, and there's a lot of cheaper things, and we're going to get into some that do not require money and could be minimal time investment.
Yeah, and even in times where, like, if a friend has had a pet pass away, or there's sometimes where I've sent a little thing, like saw something on Amazon, or where you just send a message and you can acknowledge, you know, how they might be feeling and whatever, right? But even just sending somebody like a complimentary message or an uplifting message or something, right, can be better than nothing. A step further, writing them an actual letter maybe, or making a card. Again, that's not too crazy. Put that in the mail. You know, drawing them a picture. Like, it could be anything. Like, that could be cute based on your relationship.
And how exciting it is to get mail that ain't bills and grown-up things. Yeah, like, can we please, like, bring back, like, letters and love letters and beautiful cards and things. I'm about to make some cards for some people that I'm excited about. So there are also a lot of really, really cute TikToks and YouTube videos out there on how to, like, create really beautiful cards. Something else that I saw, and I'm going to put this for a grief way, but also just to love on somebody, is, like, when one of my homegirls had her father pass away, and she said one of the best things somebody got her, it was from like 1-800-Flowers or whatever, but it was like a jar, and it was like little grief affirmations, and every day that she could pick one when she was having a tough day. You don't have to buy it from 1-800-Flowers. You could write that. You could put it in a mason jar.
A jar, and it had messages in it?
Yeah, like whenever you're feeling like really heavy, whenever you're having a hard day. But I think you could just do that to love on your friends without grief. Sweet. So like, it's like a, you know, love on yourself jar, and it's like, man, I'm having a tough day today. Bam. Let me read this. And it's free. Like, well, mason jar, 99-cent, piece of paper, 10 cents. Boom.
And, you know, all of this really is just going down to romance, because if you're a romantic person, you can make something shake, you know, and you know how, you know that the how you do a thing and, you know, all of that is what's important. And so for the romantic lovers out there, you already get all of this stuff. And when I think about romance, I think about it now in all these ways of like how we do things. And that's what this is. And I think it's okay to have that even with our platonic relationships and our family, people that we say we love, you know, how are you actually doing a little something to show them that you love them.
Them actions looking like.
A couple of other things is if you offer to spend time with them, if you say, hey, you want to take your mind off of things and let's, have a paint night, or let's go have a glass of wine, or go to this whatever. Of course, you have to respect people if they want their space or if they don't want to head out. But a lot of times, they might just not even be in the mood to get ready. Like if it's like, hey, I'm gonna come over. And then just sometimes the presence can uplift, and now it's like, oh, okay, well, let's go do something. Or even if we just sit here and talk or watch a movie, your presence itself could be helpful.
Yeah, going and spending time, maybe taking a walk around the block, exercising with them if they need to move their body and, they haven't. I think any way you can make someone's life easier. So knowing your friends, right? So if they have children, what if you go over there and watch for 1 hour and let them take a nap, or have a date night, or do something that they might really need or go to a doctor's office, like without their kid, like they might not have that time. If you have a car and your friends don't, maybe you offer to give them a ride to their doctor's appointment, or a ride to the office, or whatever they need to do to handle their business. Maybe they're finishing up a project. But even something that's seemingly quote unquote small, but is a big deal, if someone's having like a depressive episode or is exhausted or tired, maybe you help them clean their house.
I think that those are really good ideas, especially going back to like the aspect of what you need. It's different if you ask them, because like, for example, everybody I know who has kids now, or like young kids, it's like, I know if I was like, hey, and keep me in mind, if you need to go do anything, I'm happy to come down. Like that would be way bigger than, what do you need? Because that's something, like that's always something that people can take you up on. So also let me put out there, you can offer things. That's still at least putting something out there, but like making people think as little as possible about something else when they might have the most on their shoulders already.
Yeah, and I think that that's good to figure out, like whenever you're thinking about what to give them, some things to consider are like, okay, well, what is my capacity? I don't have a lot of money right now, so what does it look like to support without money? Okay, I have time. Maybe I just go sit with them. Maybe you do that. And so when you message them, you can offer that, hey, I know you're going through a hard time. I would love to come over and help support you, maybe help clean the house. We could take a walk, or maybe I just bring over some stuff and we could cook, and just have some friend time.
Let me know what you want.
Let me know what you want to do. But giving them options, so then they can pick, I just want you to come over and walk. We don't have to do nothing. You ain't got to cook nothing. Bam, easy money. But you got to think about like what is in your capacity and what are you willing to give. And then that helps like make succinct offerings to folks.
Yeah, great idea. So again, this week we challenge you to think about how you can be there for others, to give people that space to recognize that they may not be able to process and come up with how to best help them, and or it may not be comfortable to talk about what they need. And also from your side to consider how you're taking care of yourself, the things that you may need, or how you want your friends to show up for you, and being able to reflect that to those around you as well. So hopefully this was an episode that allows you to think about and better your relationships with others. Carlie, a lot of good thoughts and ideas in this episode. And it kind of makes me want to think about like, all right, I used to have like a list of all my friends or people that I'm like, I should make sure I kind of touch base here and there. Some of them might be like every few months, some of them, more often. But it's also nice when you do have the capacity, maybe you just kind of randomly do something for folks. And that way you are, again, like really building that and figuring out how to best support folks in other spaces when they need it.
Yeah, and even when they don't, like I love you're romancing your friends and romancing your life, and I think that the more that we do that, the more that comes back, and so it just becomes this really beautiful cycle of everybody kind of loving on each other, even if they aren't going through something, so that whenever they do, they feel better supported.
Absolutely. So we're going to better support ourselves and our friends. We'll see you next week.
Bye, y'all.